NFL free agency is going to be kicking off very soon, Sean. There are actually some pretty big names that can be a part of this year's upcoming free agency class. I want to talk about two guys that we each think should be the most highly sought after, who can have the biggest impacts for their new teams, who should be getting the most attention. Who is your first one?
My first is T. Higgins, and this one should be so simple for NFL teams. I've got a borderline number 1, number 2 wide receiver. Some could characterize him as a 1 because of how good Jamar Chase is. He's been forced in that number 2 role. We've seen him step up when Chase has been hurt. He's only 26, and most importantly, everybody in the league knows that the Bengals are dying to not pay this guy. They're dying to not get something done and have you, Mr. Prospective GM into T. Higgins, have you pick up the tab. And what are you going to get? A dynamic, rangy receiver with incredible flexibility, great ball skills at the point of attack. It's such a no-brainer to me that you're getting a T. Higgins in his prime, and it's not like he's been wasted in Cincinnati. Like, oh, he just needs to get on a better team with a better quarterback. Hard to do that when you got Joe Burrow passing him the ball. But they don't want to pay this guy. It's been years of everyone.
They're the cheapest organization in the sport.
Dead cheap that you could go in and just ransack the place. I think you could get pretty good money for T. Higgins, and knowing that they're not going to counter. Oh yeah, sure. We'll just keep it up. We'll just have Andre Yoshivash step up.
Man, he's got some juice.
He's been fine. He's not T. Higgins, and the Bengals are dying to have him be T. Higgins. This guy should be an auto steal. If you need a wide receiver, inquire about T. Higgins.
Yeah, the only problem is it's too hard to pay 2 receivers. So anyone who does need a receiver in a free agency class where there's really not a lot of good options, you start going through it. It's Amari Cooper and Stephon Diggs. T. Higgins is going to get sent a crap load of bread.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like he's going to end up on a team that's like not really ready to win right now? I don't know who that is. Like, he's going to totally just take the biggest contract that he gets offered.
And you know what? Go ahead. Get paid. Make some big catches for the team. It's great. But the unfortunate part of it, if he does depart to another team, is the Bengals had supreme offensive talent, young core in Chase Higgins. I'd say Chase Brown also emerged this year, and Joe Burrow. And they've squandered it with slow Septembers, cheap management of the cap, and not keeping players happy. And this could have been a great run. It could have been a great AFC team, but they're stuck in the mud because their front office won't let them get out of it.
Well, if you've gotten so much production out of these guys that you've drafted on day 2 and so forth, I would argue that the Bengals are probably going to be fine, that they should draft somebody in the end of the first round or sometime in the second to find that eventual replacement for T. Higgins to play alongside Jamar Chase. There's not a lot of great options. I really like the idea of Jaden Higgins, but we'll see what happens there. My first one, and not to rehash the argument that we were just having, Sam Darnold to me is the biggest free agent. So assuming that he does enter the market, this is one of the rare times that there's actually like a big name, let me rephrase, a starter-worthy quarterback in a free agency class. It's really hard to come by a guy that has shown high-level starter performances like Sam Darnold. A lot of times it is scraping the bottom of the barrel and hoping that you can get something out of someone. Jameis Winston's the next guy that we could possibly name as an option. Sam Darnold could be to the degree that Baker Mayfield was when he signed with the Buccaneers. I hope that he's smart about this, and I think that he will be, knowing how burned he was quickly by being in bad situations. I support, and I know that this is something that probably won't come to fruition, but the idea of him going back to the Jets feels like it could be the best situation because defensive-minded coach, a lot of defensive talent, and their offensive line, there's been investment over the past few drafts where this year with their first-round pick, they could spend one more draft selection on Kelvin Banks or Will Campbell, Tyler Booker. There are Josh Simmons. There's a lot of ways that they can turn to just like really bolster that group. And you got a young guy in Garrett Williams. You've got a young running back in Breece Hall. Darnold coming back might be the most amazing storyline that probably would never come to fruition, because if I was him, I'd be pissed about the way things turned out the first time.
I thought we were rooting for Darnold. I thought sending him back to the Jets is a death sentence.
This team is in a better position to perform at a high level than people realize.
Dude, it doesn't work there, man. They need a Messiah and then to come and fix the Jets. And he is not a Messiah.
Talk about the most Messiah way path possible. He died for their sins.
Oh, this is him exiting that game.
Yeah, he died. He died for their sins. They crucified him. They literally crucified him, and he is resurrected. Sam Darnold is Jesus Christ.
This is blasphemous, man. This is really.
Tell me he's not Jesus Christ. He is literally resurrected and died for their sins.
Here's what I'll say. Then the Jesus Christ should get a Geno Smith deal, 3 years, $75 million, $40 million guaranteed. He'll probably exceed that. But their career arcs so similar, just burned by bad team after bad team, get picked up by a competent one, get paid. Don't go after a huge. You don't need the big time Dak Prescott contract. You haven't earned it. Stay in your level. And I think these NFL teams need to keep quarterbacks in check and say, you ain't that good, pal. You're Geno Smith good. That means you're getting under $100 million total. We'll guarantee you some. You keep playing quarterback in the NFL, and you keep having, women watch you a little bit. That's the benefit.
Yeah,
here.
You get mono from kissing girls at the club. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing though, just like to really quickly kind of address this, and maybe we should do a segment eventually, like purely on this of, solving the most quarterback needy teams. Here are the teams, if I'm looking at the draft order, that need a quarterback. Tell me which of these, after I read the list, like are actual good situations that he should sign up for. Tennessee Titans, Tennessee Titans actually is an underrated one because they've got the first overall pick. You draft Abdul Carter. You've got a pretty nice offensive line, and you could draft another one in the second round. So Tennessee Titans, Cleveland Browns, New York Giants, Las Vegas Raiders, New York Jets, New Orleans Saints. I'm not seeing anyone else that like really needs a quarterback that's like after the top 14 picks. Okay, so that's all of them.
Yeah.
That's all of them.
Looking at the quarterback needy teams that have actual cap room right now, the Raiders, number 2, $92 million. They probably have to be
that,
I know.
Their O-line is
I wouldn't sign up for it either. But if we're working through it, yeah, I think the Raiders, they have the space and they need a quarterback. Then you have who else here? I mean, the Vikings are 7th on the list with $58 million just to spend. Go ahead. Maybe they do retain him. Other than that, yeah, Lions quarterback. Bengals have their guy. Steelers.
Ryan says the Rams, depending on what they do. I did a spot on
the Stafford domino will be interesting to see.
Yeah. If they're, I think that's what will motivate the Stafford move if that actually happens. If they think that they can get Sam Darnold.
What about cutting Wilson and Fields loose and having Darnold go to Pittsburgh? They got some money.
That's actually not
They got
bad.
$53 million sitting.
I still want Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh.
Oh,
you just got. I want. You had fat shithead Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his career. I want fat shithead Aaron Rodgers. I want him to get fat, and that's what I want that to turn into. I'm going to give my second pick here. Trey Smith from the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, is going to be, to me, the most important offensive line free agent. It's harder than ever to get free agent worthy offensive linemen on the market because if you're worth anything, if you're slightly above average, your team is desperately going to try to keep you. They're going to do everything possible to keep you because it's really hard these days to find good offensive linemen. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be motivated enough to try and keep him around, but I wouldn't be stunned if we don't end up seeing somebody just offer a truckload of money for him to start for a team that's got a young quarterback.
He's going to get paid. He should get paid. He is a fantastic guard. And he's due some money. 6th round pick, if my memory serves me right. It's coming, Mr. Smith. You're going to get the Brinks truck, and you should. Absolute protector. If the Chiefs are smart, they don't let him anywhere near free agency. Say, hey, it's you and Creed right there shoring up the offensive line. Patrick Mahomes never getting rushed up the middle because of you two guys. It all works. He shouldn't even – he shouldn't – nobody should even be calling about him because Kansas City should just be hanging up. No, we're working on it. We're keeping them. Don't call. You want Juju Smith-Schuster? Go. All right, cool. We'll work something out with you.
Good luck stopping the Patriots, who have a ungodly amount of cap room for the first time in a very long time. That they're not going to offer that man, his own portion of the stadium.
I mean, he is an absolutely valuable free agent.
Yeah.
And then like the next ranked offensive lineman free agent is Drew Dalman, the Falcons center. Stinkaroo. And
I don't even think I've seen him play, if I'm being completely honest.
not an impact maker. And I don't need a center to be like pancaking everybody all the time, but there were some holy calls. There was some stuff. I was not thrilled with Dalman this year in the position of center. Wasn't that happy. My second guy, I'll keep him kind of brief because he just jumped on the scene. It's not like we got a ton to really discuss with him, but Zach Bond, go get paid. 1-year deal with the Eagles this year. Defensive Player of the Year, 150 tackles. Sign him back up. I think that him being a true middle linebacker, not the super flowy guy, not rangy coverage guy, but a true middle linebacker freed up so many of these incredible athletes that Philly had to go play a little more hybrid, a little more free positionally. Because you know what? Bond's got the hashes. Anything coming in between the hashes, he's got it. Anything outside the hashes, maybe we need some speed. Maybe we need Nolan Smith helping out. But he was an absolute anchor of the defense. And I think he would be an anchor for a lot of defenses also. If you needed a linebacker, this is who you should be calling. I mean, he is an absolute professional, top to bottom NFL linebacker and should be inquiring about some big money.
My only thing with Zach Bond, I don't know why, but it just gives me that feeling that this is going to be one of those dudes that gets paid a shitload of money and then just disappears, just stinks it up. And it's one of those, like, man, that's a weird free agent signing. You look back at it like 5 years, it's like he had like one good year on that contract, and then he was all over the place. It took him a really positive. Like, let me ask you this. Zach Bond, yes, was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation at the end of the year. He wasn't going to win the award. But does he produce those same results without the guys that he had in front of him that were clearing space? I don't know about that. I think he needs to be very smart about where he goes, considering the lack of success that he had in New Orleans originally. He needs to pick somewhere that's got some good dudes up front opening lanes for him.
I would want to stay in Philly if I were him. If he got picked up by like the Colts, maybe him and Zaire Franklin could do some damage, but you're not really noticing Zach Bond on the Colts. You're noticing Zach Bond on the Philly defense with the front-loaded Georgia, and then the exciting whites on the back end, and then the row of murderers at linebacker.
I don't know how we've gotten away with that. Like, that term has just become...
Hey, you know what? It's because they are exciting. If they were bad and they couldn't play ball, they would be getting no favor from the public. And trust me, the second they start losing a step, there's going to be some funny days on Twitter. But right now, they're exciting, and one of them had a pick six in the Super Bowl. That deserves a little bit of... You know what? We'll let this one slide here. We'll have fun with this one. We don't have to be angry.